Good morning, everyone. So, in a rapidly evolving digital landscape, leadership is no longer about influence, but it's more about navigating change, it's more about fostering innovation. So, as we delve into the leadership development, the digital age, it's becoming apparent and it's becoming extremely very clear that the challenges before us demands agility, demands transformation, and demands adaptation. So on stage I have with me Sarah Bouaimi, with a foundation in organizational psychology from the University of Sydney. Sarah boasts 15 years plus in diverse HR leadership role, from local entities to global giants, celebrated for pioneering HR innovation. She is a beacon and employee well-being, especially during pandemic challenges. A recipient of 2020 Global HR Award, she is also consecutively recognized in 2022 and 2023 as a top HR leader in the Middle East and the illustrious CHRO of the Year. Next, we have Kunal Wadhwani. So, as the CHRO for Shwaitam Group, Kunal oversees a robust workforce of over 5,000. With 20 years under his belt, he is an expert at aligning human capital with tangible business results. A global keynote speaker, Kunal has been at the forefront of transformative HR processes tailored to Shwaitam's unique vision, winning also multiple accolades for his innovative HR strategies. Next, we have Rochand Di Costa, with a dynamic career spanning 2 decades across regions like India, Africa, the Caspians, and the Middle East. Rochand has carved a niche as an HR visionary in diverse industries. As the regional director of HR for Bureau Veritas, he strategizes for over 4,500 employees across 20 countries, known as Transformation Global HR Leaders. He is also an engaged mentor and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personal Development. Next, we have Ajay Shudhari. Ajay Masfari plays a dual role, a seasoned HR head with over a decade of experience and a devoted father, currently guiding HR strategies for Middle East countries. He's a pro at linking human capital to strategic business outcomes. With expertise in HR digitization and transformation initiative, Ajay merges fresh perspective with tried and true HR practices. Last but not least, we have Kamesh Shaganti, accomplished senior HR leader with over 20 years in multinational settings, acclaimed for crafting organizational culture, driving talent and development, and ensuring HR aligns with business goals. Skilled in navigating multifaceted HR scenarios with a keen focus on recruitment, engagement, and diversity across various cultures. Now, as we navigate, ladies and gentlemen, this digital odyssey, let's harness the collective wisdom of our distinguished panels. And we will begin our discussion with a question I would like our guests to share their unique perspective. So I'd like to start with you, Sarah, since...
They always start with the woman.
All right, so ladies first. So Sarah, as we set our sails, in your experience, how do you believe the digital transformation has reshaped the leadership development strategies?
Good question. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for the introduction. Nice to see you all today. Some happy faces. For me, the digital transformation has been quite pivotal, but the main reason is not for the leadership development, it's for the employee empowerment. With COVID plus the digital age, employees have been feeling a lot more empowered and they're getting a lot more vocal. In my previous years in HR prior to COVID, I used to say that I loved working with Emiratis because Emiratis were never afraid. They were never afraid to tell you what was on their mind. They were never afraid to question you. They were never afraid to really stand up for it. What COVID and the digital era has done is it's given all employees this chance to not be afraid because they know that there are other options and they know that there are other things that they can go for. Now, how that affects leaders is it makes them need to focus a lot more on their soft skills. They can no longer operate the way they used to with, I'm the boss, you're the employee, you need to do what I say. So this era of digitalness, if that's a word, it's really empowered employees, and by doing that, it's elevating leaders to become better. And it was funny, it's about Bill Gates. I think it was Bill Gates when Apple was going out of business and then he bought their shares. And the reason he did that was because he wanted competition, because competition makes you better. But if your employees are not challenging you, you're never going to be a better leader. Oh yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your perspective. It's really fascinating to see how basically the various leadership trajectories intersect and diverge into this digital age. Kunal, what's been your experience with this shift as well?
All right, good morning everyone. Thank you, Soha, for this question. I believe that digitalization, technology is moving at a very unprecedented pace. And who would have thought a few years back that a retail and an FMCG organization like Choice Films would be having a hybrid culture today. So COVID has changed a lot of things. Digitalization has changed a lot of things. Specifically speaking about the leadership capabilities, I very genuinely believe in my heart that the data-driven decision-making capabilities have been enhanced within the leaders in the organization, and something like this creates enhanced transparency of data workflow within the companies where leaders can take better decisions in today's time. To give you an example, every organization goes through a budgeting process on an annual basis, and in today's time at Choice Films, we are in a situation where we first look at what operations is trying to deliver in the following year. And then accordingly support groups come together to make their budgets and their plan. Now when we have made our plans, we want to share those plans with business operations team, with the CXOs, the CEOs of the company, and then ask them, is this something that is going to suit you? Because we should not forget that we are a support dog. Directly we can't earn revenue, okay, but we can optimize cost within the business. So this is what we are trying to do. What we have done very specifically in Choice Films is we have created sales targets for all the support domains right now. And because I have sales targets and let's say 20%, 30% weightage on my KPIs, I translate those to my team members and we make our strategies accordingly. But anything that we are trying to do, how does that create a return on investment for the organization? Continuous learning is another aspect of digitalization, and it's a funny thing. A few weeks back I was speaking to a friend and she's asking me, hey, what's your Uber rating? The Uber cab rating, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm asking what is an Uber cab rating? I don't even know. And then she's like, like you rate the drivers rate you back. I'm like, not that it makes a difference in my life, but I was astonished to know that there's something like this. And employees today have that kind of channel open on the internet where Indeed.com, Glassdoor.com, you go to these websites and they are reviewing your websites, right? So even if you're terminating, let's say, somebody for a fraud, how you do it, okay, is very important, because what people are going to write about you online, it matters to the world, because nobody knows whether an employee left because of a resignation or because of a fraud case, right? So it's an impression. So I think these are the aspects which I would basically talk about when we think about the leadership elements associated to digitalization.
Very insightful, It's really evident that the digital landscape is reshaping our leadership paradigm, right? All right, Roshan, what's your take on the same?
Thank you for the question. So, continuing with what Kunal has just mentioned, he already spoke about big data to take decisions. I think I'll look at employee engagement. We are a large organization, close to 200-year old. We will be 200-year-old in 2 years. And we have had this transformation over the years from being a traditional organization to a tech-savvy organization today. So I can give quite a few examples. But let me focus on this point about employee engagement. We have introduced a platform called Glint, which is a LinkedIn and a Microsoft product, over the last 5 years for employee engagement. And the way that we did it is that we introduced it in some key countries, pilot basis, to see how do people react, because there is change management involved. More than change management, how do leaders take this critical feedback, open comments, anonymous? That's how the platform is. You wouldn't know who has said what. So that change of leadership to accept these kind of comments coming through is something that you look at leadership. It's a transformational change. And this year, we covered more than 80,000 employees across the globe. And when we look at the number of comments that we have 5,000 plus employees who participated, we have 20,000 comments. I mean, 15,000 comments plus another 5,000 comments coming in from different sections of people who are non-exclusive and stuff like that. I think when you talk about digitalization, the readiness of leaders, how HRs prepare them to take this feedback when you move from whether it's a traditional setup or someone like a 360, right? 360 is still, it's a control group. But when you're taking feedback from someone, like in Kunal's case, maybe there's a driver, maybe there's somebody who's stacking up items on the shop floor, right? And also somebody who's your direct N-1. I think that's something which future leaders need to adapt when it comes to also adapting digitalization. And this is an example which I would like to share with you when it comes to employee engagement. So, you will get, if some of you have already used Glint, you will get engagement scores. You can compare between ladies and gentlemen. You can compare between different departments. What are ladies talking about? You can segregate and really pinpoint what are the issues in the organization. And when you look at comparative scores over a period of time, not just about people responding. If I have not acted as a leader, people have told me so much that, look, there is a problem, please rectify this. If I have not done anything about it, next year you will find that your engagement score has gone maybe 40 to 50% lower than what was last year. So this is how I think leaders need to adapt to strategies with digitalization as well.
Thank you so much, Roshan. Great input. HA, how do you view this evolution in leadership in the digital age?
Thank you for the question, Sobha, and thank you for sharing your views. I believe what everybody has just said. Digital transformation is important. Why it is important? Because we need to avoid digital disruption. That is one of the important things, right? But data in this digital world is so easily available to everyone. Just one click and you get everything, whatever you need. Most important, if we can please go to our social website and if we show our interest to anything, from the next 1 hour you see those things coming up as your preference. So why I'm saying data is so easily available, because everything what we do, everybody knows nowadays, right? So firstly, it is very important how do we manage this digital transformation, right? Having an employee strength of 600,000 plus employees in TCS, it is very difficult to manage. It is not easy. But the only thing that makes it easy is the digital transformation, right? Because pre-COVID, we used to, I'll just give an example of recruitment. When we recruit people, we used to call them to office, sign papers, do anything and everything. At this point of time, it is just an app, a click, everything is done online, It is easier for people to join the organization, join the client side, whatever they want to do. Again, as I say this, a manual intervention is very important for managing the digital transformation, right? Because if we don't manage it manually, the data can go anywhere, especially considering the GDPR that we go ahead within the organization. It is very important that we do it manually. The leaders in this world, of course, they need to be trained on these digital transformation, the new technologies that we're working upon. Because, in the past, the employee used to upskill themselves, Now it is important for leaders as well to upskill themselves, understand the needs of the organization, understand the needs of the employees. Because if we don't do that, we have seen a lot of bigger companies not doing good. They started at the home, but then later on, if they don't manage the digital world, of course, they'll not survive. So of course it is a question of a survival. So I would just want to close this saying that digital transformation, but of course with a manual intervention, so that leaders understand, grow, and they help the employees grow and understand. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ, for highlighting the symbiotic relationship between technology and, I would say, human connection. Kamesh, pivoting to you for that question, how have you observed the digital transformation influencing leadership development strategies in your experience?
Yeah, thanks for the question. See, the digital transformation has significantly reshaped the leadership strategies. Now, if you see, I will talk about virtual collaboration and learning and development. My friends have already spoken about other things. And now, if we see the, couple of years back, and everybody were traveling, and the cost of traveling, meeting people. Now, if we see the virtual collaboration, it's opened up the networking, and sitting in any corner, you can network with anybody across the globe. So that's how the digital transformation has reshaped the entire networking system. And also talking about the learning and development, earlier it was very difficult to have, for me, for example, in my organization, we are spread across 9-10 countries. And when we want to do any kind of a learning development or a training program, it was very difficult for us to, do a similar program everywhere. Now you see, we have a virtual training program. We get people from different institutes. For example, now we are collaborated with IIMs India, which is one of the best schools, and also any other training programs. Now we have everybody in place at the same time and having the learnings taken. And that's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Kamesh, for that comprehensive insight. Now, as we delve deeper into the intricacy of leadership in the digital realm, let's explore specific facets that are redefining our HR landscape specifically. Sarah, over to you again. So starting with a topic that I guess this is, in my opinion, of course, that gained significant momentum in recent years. How has the rise of the digital age influenced HR strategies regarding diversity and inclusion specifically in the leadership role?
Thanks again for choosing me first. I can go with the obvious answer, which is being virtual, you can hire people across the globe, you can hire leaders across the globe. This ticks the diversity box, and obviously with equity, you have all the data. My peers have all talked about the data. For me, what's more important is the inclusion factor, and the fact that many of the time we focus on diversity, we focus on equity, but we forget about inclusion. And we also forget about belonging. So you can feel included, but do you belong in the company? And the beauty with what digital strategies are equipping leaders with is this means to include people in huge organizations such as the ones that you have. You go in and now you have all employee information at the touch of your screen, and you can literally go in and know them by name, know them by birthday, know them by date of joining. And it's what we choose to do with this information. So yes, we can choose to do it to hire, fire, promote, the whole thing. But do we choose to use it to make people feel like they belong, to make people feel included? I always use this example, so I think you've already heard this one. How many of you have flown Emirates? Okay. How many of you are gold members with Emirates? Okay. How awesome does it feel when you walk into that airplane and you're sitting down on your seat and they come and you're like, hello, are you Miss Boyery? And you know they have a sheet, you know they know where you're sitting, you know that this isn't like some fancy, they know every single gold member. But how awesome, yeah, it makes you feel awesome. I travel Emirates so that I can get my, hello Miss Boyery, nice to see you again. So if this little tiny touch makes such a big difference and improves loyalty to a massive airline corporation, Imagine what little touches of decency, I call it, or inclusion will do. So leaders in this room, you can use your data and you can use your analytics for firing and hiring and promoting and giving people more money. But maybe also use your data to make people belong.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you so much, Sarah. Indeed, the pursuit of diversity and inclusion is quite transformative, in my opinion, and it really shapes the ethos of any organization. And sometimes, those small gestures, even it's like small gestures make a huge difference in employees' journey. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Kunal, with that in mind, how digital tools and the platforms reshaped the approaches to learning and development for emerging leaders?
Okay, so learning and development is a pretty fascinating upcoming or a changing concept in today's time after digitalization has taken place. I very strongly believe that in 5 years from now, learning and development would attract most of the attention within HR domain. It will become the heart of HR. Safe to say, it is not at the moment. And I speak to so many HR professionals where they have the budgets for L&D, but the old school L&D practices used to push us to just manage ticking boxes that we have completed X number of training spaces at our training calendar, or we have trained X number of employees this year, and that used to be a KPI. Moving on, because I mentioned ROI when I was opening my introduction remarks, I genuinely believe learning and development in 5 years from now will provide you the highest ROI and cost optimization in human resources, and that's a guarantee. Those organizations who do not successfully start working on this right now, in 5 years from now, they will lose the race, right? Because the competition is continuously increasing. In Choitrams, we have created certain scenarios right now to prepare for these 5 years. Number one, we have started to work on internal management development programs. Every year, we at least focus on 3 programs, at least 3 programs. There have been times in the last 2 years, in 2022 we completed 6, but at least 3 programs in a year. What we do is we meet the operational business heads and ask them for their top 3 challenges. We make a note of those challenges and we convert those challenges from an L&D perspective into projects. And these projects run for a period of, let's say, 3 months, okay, followed by a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So total of 6 months intervention from HR, fortnight follow-ups happening through L&D department on those particular projects. So, none of our projects have, not yielded results. Some big, some small, but this has been a learning, more importantly for our learning and development team to understand how we can make it better next year. The second aspect of digitalization is that a lot of bite-sized training concepts have come into picture. So you don't really have to call all the people in a classroom today to coach them about policies, processes, mental health, well-being. You can create programs online and you can share it. It can go as a link on email, it can come to you on WhatsApp, and people in their free time can watch it, and you can record through an online channel like SurveyMonkey or Microsoft Forms. You will know how many people have attended. So that channelizes, brain-taking thinking over there. One last thing that I can say is we have worked on our ESG parameters. Every department in today's time in our organization has got something called as a green ambassador. And those green ambassadors are supposed to work on green initiative principles within the department. To just give you one example, as an outcome of the green initiatives, we have developed a solar panel, rooftop solar panel strategy for our warehouse, which on an annual basis gives us over 1 million dirhams saving only in electricity bill. And these are the projects that I'm talking about that we are currently working on. So I think it's obvious that the more we invest and we diversify our thought process associated to L&D, the more we will benefit in maybe 5 years, 6 years to come.
Follow-up question, sorry. For the first part, which is the 6-month programs, how do you actually get them engaged? Like, how do you get people to want to be in these programs and want to deliver the results? What do you do?
So, like I mentioned, this is an internally developed management development program. So, when we started out this program somewhere in 2021, the first one, we did it for the store managers in retail. And we kickstarted the event with CEO coming in and setting his expectations in the program. It was followed by the CFO coming into picture and training people on finance for retail. It was then followed by some operational trainings, soft skills training by HR. We did a TTD program for some of our business development managers who eventually became trainers over here. So not only cost optimization, that is not just the intent. It's like internally people understand your culture better, and that's how they can coach you better as well.
Thank you so much for that detailed perspective and very impressive, to be honest. Roshan, delving deeper in this digital era, what key skills and competencies do you believe are imperative for leaders to possess and even to cultivate at the same time?
I think when you talk about leaders, the first and foremost important thing is the buy-in by a leader to lead, to accept the responsibility of the change that they're going to drive. I think it starts from there. And then how they communicate, this is the first part of skills, which are human factor skills of partnering with those people to convince them, look, why it is important. Of course, we choose a very good digital partner who will partner with you to bring this digitalization change within the organization. And of course, there's an ROI built into that. Kunal already explained to that. But just introducing systems, just introducing digitalization platforms are not going to work for you unless people do not use them, right? For example, we have signed up for training and development, we have signed up with Coursera. I don't know how many of you know about Coursera. It's a fantastic platform. Again, we had choice of various platforms like Effectory as well when we looked at it. But the more on Coursera is, there are faculties from across the world, from top universities, who would be available. So it's just kind of a blended learning where you could have classroom kind of sessions on video calls, or you could also do some kind of courses online, and then you get a certificate which is coming through an Oxford or some other top university in the world. Of course, it's expensive, but then how are you trying to sell that to people to increase your training hours, just to say, look, it's just not training. At the end of it, there is a bit of a rigor. Achieve it, and you get a good certificate which is valuable for you. Whether you're going to work for the company or tomorrow you're going out, you still carry this accreditation with you wherever you go, right? So, company is investing into that. So, I think when you talk about other key skills, of course, technology-wise, big data, analytics, breaking down misinformation. How do you manage the future, being future ready? Yeah, future ready. Dealing with ambiguity, right? Being agile, the skills of being agile, because you start something and digitalization is so fast changing that what started 6 months back, maybe I have something new today, or the complete scenario of workspace has changed, which means I have to adapt myself to changing what we have been implementing. We experienced that when we implemented SAP as well for Bureau Veritas, across the world. It started in pockets like, pilot in France, pilot in Singapore, pilot in UAE. By the time I implemented it across the Middle Eastern region, what was the master had changed completely. Because, in some places you can have one single module which you can adapt and implement equally across the board, and then there has to be the local content which you have to work on, which will cost you more money because it's not in the master plan or the master agreement, but you still have to take that call. And who takes that call is the leader, right? So this is just a thought in terms of course, the skills that we can talk, which are as important for digitalization.
Thank you, Roshan. So having the right skills, we're talking about adaptation, we're talking about resilience, we're talking about flexibility, agility, is really crucial, specifically when technology itself is, I would say, is reshaping the fabric of leadership roles. Thank you. AJ, with that context, what impact do you see automation and artificial intelligence specifically having on leadership roles within HR?
We are into the world of AI and robotics, and this will further transform. And adding to what Kunal just mentioned about learning and development, I think that is the key aspect of improvement through AI and robotics, right? Traditionally, what we used to do is that we used to conduct a classroom trainings, when we used to call external trainers and ask them to take these sessions. At this point of time when we talk, it is easy for us to conduct a training online, wherein you guys can see each other, have the training, get the certification done. So the major impact which I feel is within the organization, especially with the people of 600,000 plus employees, it is easier to reach to these employees, it is easier to conduct trainings, it is easier to upskill them. That is one part of it. Second part of it is, I'll just take a simple example of Microsoft Teams. That is the biggest example. I will tell you an advantage and a disadvantage of Microsoft Teams. The advantage is that you are reachable every time. And disadvantage is that you are reachable every time. But the important part here is that, because you are into MS Teams, and since we have a presence across 40 plus countries, it has cut through the cost. The impact on the cost has become very less. As you can see the improvement on your margins, you can see the improvement on your revenues, because previously we used to get our cell phones and call the people across the world, clients across the world, and then we used to, ask the company to pay for it. But being into this world wherein using MS Teams, specifically revenue has improved a lot, and that is one of the biggest transformation, in this digital world. So all what I want to say here is that there are pros and cons, but I guess more than the revenue perspective, more than the margins perspective, more than the connecting with people, shaping the future, having the connect with them, AI and robotics has played a vital role.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Kamesh, building upon the idea of future HR leadership and technology advancement specifically, how can leaders, in your opinion, harness digital transformative to not only adapt, but also enhance their leadership effectiveness in practical, everyday scenario?
So in the era of digital transformation, the effective leadership centers on a dynamic blend of technology adoption and timeless human skills. As leaders, we must use the digital tools. I would say about 5 points what is important for leaders to harness the digital transformation. One is the digital tools. Second is virtual collaboration. And third is to foster or encourage the data-driven decision making. And the fourth point would be agile leadership. And the last is continuous learning and upskilling.
Thank you so much. So
at the same time, we as leaders must prioritize a clear and empathetic communication within our internal and external customers.
Thank you so much. So as we conclude this insightful session, it would be invaluable to glean some actionable advice from you guys and maybe. Sarah, if you were to offer one crucial tip or maybe one crucial strategy for HR leaders navigating the complexities of the digital age, what would it be?
My one tip that I generally share, irrespective of topic, is stop promoting performance. Start promoting potential. So you pay for performance, give the big benefits, give the big bonuses, everything there, but start promoting potential. Because when you start to promote people with potential to be leaders and to lead, everything else falls smoothly. We can talk about digital, we can talk about performance, efficiency. It's not going to work if the manager's stuck. It's as simple as that. And what used to happen before is we used to promote performance, and they didn't have the skills to be leaders. So promote potential, pay for performance. Done.
Thank you, Sarah. There's a formula, by the way, it reminded me of a formula for that I forgot the name of the author, but I read it in a book. Maybe Sarah, in a book called The Inner Game, where the performance has been explained in a very simplified a formula. It's like performance equal potential minus interference. Interference, we're talking about limiting beliefs, barriers, anything that might interfere in the employee's career journey, I would say. Yeah. Right. Kunal, in light of all the evolution we've just discussed, what essential advice would you provide to HR leaders as they adapt to these digital shifts?
Look, I'm in no position to advise all the amazing people sitting over here, but as a group, I think if we can all learn marketing and finance, and in a few years we are going to be exceptional HR leaders. Just focus on financial planning, whether it is your own budget, but assess the budgets of other departments. So focus on financial planning. Look at your learning objectives for the next 5 years, like I have mentioned. Focus on quality through leadership, and then please, enhance your employer branding proposition. Because if with all the humbleness, if I have been given an opportunity to sit over here on this particular stage, I'm just trying to define how good my organization is and how good it is an employer of choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. Roshan, pivoting to you, building on that, what's your top recommendation for HR leaders striving to lead effectively in this era of digital?
HRs are humans at the end, right? For me, what's important is that we build partnership. Kunal just made a mention of sales and marketing and finance. I think for any digital transformation that HR would like to lead, that core team has to be there. Meaning HR partnering with finance, sales and marketing, procurement, not to forget. Then you have your legal and compliance team who is going to look at your contracts. What are you signing? That's so very important, because when you talk about digital, you have all that is happening in the world, the ransomware and all that. So unless and until your organization is not protected with the kind of tools that you're going to use, it's going to be, forget about it. Probably it's going to be shut down completely as well. So many companies have faced it. So that's where I think HR, even for HR systems, for example, even that aspect of a legal compliance team looking at your contracts, giving you that feedback and you taking that feedback, because sometimes on the face of it, the product might be so good, but when you go back and look at where are they hosting it, and if it doesn't comply with what you should be doing, you should never look at it, however good it is, So this is my short advice in the way that I work, and I've been pretty successful in that, and maybe it could work for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roshan. AJ, what is your key tip or one tip for all HR leaders?
Sure. We have transformed from an HR to an HRBP, which is HR business partner. And why it is done? Because now we equally understand the business. We contribute a lot in the business aspects, perspective, and again, I would say revenue. So we understand that. One thing in this digital world that we are losing is empathy and connect. So I would want to say that, be empathetic, connect more with people, because digital world, you're losing that personal connect, and that is somewhere impacting us and us as in HR leaders. So all what I want to say is that connect more with people, be empathetic, understand their needs, and of course understand business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, AJ. Kamesh, how about you?
My one point is that create a culture of continuous learning and adaptability. And most importantly, please train your employees and managers on the cybersecurity awareness. And just
Thank you so much. So as we wrap up today's enlightening session, it's really evident that the digital age presents both opportunities and challenges, I would say, specifically for HR leadership. So from understanding the nuances of diversity and inclusion to harnessing the power of artificial intelligence and even automation, I would say, to evolving our learning and development approaches and pinpointing the skills essentials for tomorrow's leaders. So I would like to thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insight. Thank you for your generosity, I would say, as well. Your perspective, I hope that enriched this discourse vastly. And thank you all for joining this exploration of HR leadership in this digital age. Thanks.